Hi, I'm Annie Botticelli, and this is the Storyteller Forecast for Libra for June 2018. Go to my website, anniehelpsyou.com, check out what's new on my blog, and if you would love to learn astrology for your personal or professional use, then my Astrology Apprenticeship program will be enrolling starting June 1st. So what is going on in the month of June? We have Mars finally going retrograde towards the end of the month, some things to note there. We also have the beginning of eclipse season. This is a really big deal. If you've been watching my reports for a while, or if you follow eclipses, then you know that twice a year we have these sets of eclipses, and eclipses tend to bring radical, sometimes sudden trajectory changes, like you're going this way and then whoop, all of a sudden you're going this way. It can bring dramatic accomplishments or closures. It can bring bright new openings. So we're officially in the eclipse season now, even though the eclipses don't actually happen until July and August. So the way I'm setting up my reports for June, July, and August are, I'm going to cover one of the eclipses in each. We have 3 in this cycle. Okay, so the partial solar eclipse at 20 degrees of Cancer, that's on July 12th, but you might feel those manifestations in June because we often feel the eclipse manifestations at least 4 to 6 weeks before the actual eclipse. So that makes June ripe and ready for these eclipse possibilities. So we're going to focus on this eclipse in this June reading. In the July reading, we'll cover, and that when I say focus on this eclipse, I mean where Libras might see this in their chart and in their lives. So the one on July 27th, the total lunar eclipse at 4, almost 5 degrees of Aquarius, that one we'll talk about in the July report, and then the August partial solar eclipse at 18 degrees of Leo, we'll talk about that one in the August report. Okay, so between my June, July, and August report, you'll have a focus where you might see all of those energies. Okay, so remember that Mars is going retrograde June 26th through August 28th. We started the Mars retrograde post or pre-transit shadow period May 11th. So starting in June 1st, where we're starting this month, we're already pretty deep into that energy. So these new openings that may come from this solar eclipses tend to bring in new openings. Sometimes something has to end, so it also can bring in endings. Have an eye to the past. So new opportunities that come in might be things from the past, might be carryovers of things you've been doing, things you've been thinking, things you've been planning. People from the past can come up with something you talked about a while ago. So the basic story is there's this energy of newness with an eye to the past, okay? So I'm calling the theme of the month for Libras a new way to work, and that is because most of you are going to experience this solar eclipse portal opening in the house of work, your career, your place as an authority figure in your world, your job, your line of work, your anything having to do with your father or your relationship with father or father figures is here as well. So early and middle degree placements, meaning those of you with the first 20 or so days of the birth sign, or the first 20 or so degrees if you're watching for your rising sign, you'll experience this directly in the 10th house. If you're a later degree placement, so like the last 10 days of the sign or the last 10 degrees, like past 20 degrees to 29 degrees for your rising sign, you might experience this in the 9th, but you might also experience it in the 10th, okay? So you late degree people, you pay attention still when I'm talking about the 10th house manifestations, just in case it does come in there for you. But I always like to add the other information for you guys at the end there, because sometimes you've got a little bit of a different picture. So we'll cover what that opening and closings could look like in the 9th house for you guys in case it goes there. Okay. So the theme of this month is a new way to work, and that is because how you do your work may change, an opportunity to do your work differently, to do your work more efficiently. There is a theme that I am trying to help to educate about that is part of an astrological cycle coming from a number of different outer planet placements that has to do with working smarter instead of working harder. We have come into this situation where the value of working hard, long hours with much sacrifice, has taken a hold of populations of people. And that seems like an improvement over certain conditions that the people that came before them experienced, right? Okay, so we're seeking to evolve positively here. But the new way that's evolving is how we can get more productivity in less time and do more while working less, okay? So that you can have more balance in your life. The whole key, all of these spiritual processes that we're trying to do, our evolutionary path is moving towards trying to find balance. Okay, so with this opportunity here, now there may be this wink to the past, right? Because this new energy is coming with a focus on the past, but it's something new. It may have to do with moving along this continuum. And if it doesn't, you might still try to work in this idea. If you haven't read the book, The 4-Hour Workweek by Timothy Ferriss, he is a maniac. I love this guy. He's totally crazy. But sometimes it takes being totally crazy to do something really big, right? And so he talks about the 4-hour workweek. And maybe y'all won't get your hours down to a 4-hour workweek. But opening up to this paradigm is exactly the kind of thing that this eclipse cycle wants you to do. Okay, so there may be promotions, there may be new jobs, there may be changes of line of work, there may be changes to how you work. There could be new duties that are put on you from your same job. There could be an additional work focus added to something you already have. So meaning a side gig or something that you're developing on the side. Maybe you have your sights set on a career change at some point, and you could be planting seeds or educating yourself in order to transition out of your current line of work by doing this side thing. Lots of great energy around that for you. Also, new relationships with father figures, authority figures, and yourself as an authority figure. People that focus on spiritual development will often understand the connection between our evolution and our healing of things that have to do with our parents. Okay, so whether you had a functional or highly dysfunctional upbringing and relationship with your parents, there are still possibilities that your ceiling has been set with the success with your work because of decisions that you made in your childhood. Now, for exploring this more, I want to refer you to the work of an amazing woman named Margaret Lynch. You can look her up. She has a YouTube channel. She also has an amazing book called Tapping into Wealth. She has other resources. She's an engineer by trade, so she has a scientific mind, okay? But she came into self-development work later in her life. She's been doing it now for about 10 years, but she has this approach to help you locate those places where the limitations from your childhood, your past, your ancestry, any of these things could be, mental belief systems that have been passed along can be limiting what you do. Sometimes people reach a ceiling because they're afraid to be more successful to their parents, or more successful than their parents. She talks about these vows we make to either never be like our parents, or these vows, and they're hidden, quiet vows often, not be like our parents, or be just like our parents, or not shame our parents by doing better than them because we won't want them to feel disrespected, or just so much in the work that she does. It's amazing. And I'm thinking of this for you because it's just a very expansive energy that is adding to your workspace. So this might help your process. Okay, so that's the 10th house. So for those of you with the latter part of the placements, the last 10 days or so of the birthdays, or 10 degrees, 20-ish through 29 degrees for your rising sign, you might see these endings, these openings in your 9th house. And this could relate to your work as well, especially if you have 9th house related work. So the things that you might see a predominance of focus on, endings, beginnings, teaching, learning, education in general, where you're taking a course or you're teaching, international travel or international business, different countries, different cultures, different languages, speaking, teaching, things involving the church or religion or spiritual pursuits, and things involving creative resources. Okay, so you might see openings in those areas as well. So those are the things that are most on my mind for Libras this month. Now I want to talk more about this Mars retrograde, more about the predominant energies this month, what you can do with them, what you can expect from them, the awesome placements and the awesome transits, my personal favorite days for doing important things and days to watch, and other information that will help you best utilize the energy of this month. So I'm going to go into all that now. So I'm calling the theme of June 2018 for all signs, the magical act of releasing attachment, with a sub-theme or sub-themes of recreation and recreation. This abundance of air energy this month is going to bring a lot of restlessness, this need to move, variety seeking, the urge to communicate and connect will be very strong. And there will be many opportunities for this as well. So trips, travel near and far, sparkling conversations, chances to connect with people online and in person, a lot of busyness. People often notice when the sun is in Gemini and at this time of year, we've got a lot of busyness. You know, you'll see that things are ramped up. You're here, you're there, you're moving around. There's lots of things that you're trying to pull together. And also interests and things can be coming up and could be all over the board. The urge to move and express will be increased from this energy, but for many people, the desire for movement will be towards recreation rather than productivity. And this is compliments of the impending Mars retrograde transit. We've been talking about this for a long time. I've been prepping you for this. And of course, you can look at my blog, Your Guide to Mars Retrograde, and you can look at my video on the topic. You can just put in Annie Botticelli Mars Retrograde and you'll pull up my other resources to go deeper into this. But for the most part, for most people, ambitions start to wane. Okay, so the key theme that occurs so much in Mars retrograde is frustration. But it doesn't have to be that way. That only happens if you're trying to go at your usual pace. In that transit, that's not wanting you to do that. So if you take cues from what's happening and you stop trying to force things, like dropping your agenda, this is one of the reasons why I'm calling this, the theme this month, the magical act of releasing attachment. If you drop your agendas, then you can flow more. If you give yourself permission to chill, then the odds of frustration will be much less because you're not trying to push up against this wall of energy that's pushing backwards. So there are some people, however, that have the opposite effect when Mars is in retrograde. Mars rules movement, and some people, and how you use your energy, it rules the assertiveness, you know, that get up and go, oomph, your oomph. So if you were born with Mars retrograde in your natal chart, you might have the opposite effect when Mars goes into retrograde. You might be what some people might call lazy or laid back or not ambitious most of the time. But then something crazy happens, maybe you haven't known what it was until now, then Mars retrograde comes and you get lit up while everybody else is going the other way. So that's why I always say, above everything, you have to honor your own personal flow and your intuition when you're listening to horoscopes, because there are always caveats to the general things that we share through horoscopes. So in any case, I always like to give you the heads up, because if you notice yourself getting what you describe as lazy, and then you're trying to give yourself a hard time about it, you can make this month and this transit, which runs from the end of June to the end of August, but really it started May 11th when the shadow period started, and it goes through the beginning of October. This is a long time. So if you understand this is going on, it's more likely that you can give yourself permission to relax. And if you give yourself permission to relax, pure genius can come to you when you're in that relaxed state. The way I like to describe the magic that can happen with this energy is with a typical story. I know myself, I've heard many situations where, let's say a couple is trying to have a baby and they're having trouble getting pregnant, and there's so much stress and there's pressure and they're putting it on and they're worried, and all of this energy is going towards this certain outcome. Then when they make the decision to adopt, sometimes they get pregnant. And the doctors chalk it up as the stress was released from the venture, right? So this is the energy that I want you to remember during this time, because a massive amount of magic, a massive amount of inspiration can come from that quiet time, like the Shavasana at the end of a yoga session. That quiet little short time of integration, of rest, integrates all of the work done prior. And very often when Mars is in retrograde, work that you've done before comes to you. So this energy of being like a spider that's going to be a theme that continues for a while, where you've done work, now you're letting everything come to you, is a good one to follow. Now, if you do have some things that you have to push through, and you don't want to wait until December when we're done with Mars retrograde, then Mercury retrograde, then Venus retrograde, then there are some points here in June where you could do that. And my favorite days are right in the beginning of the month. But I'll go into more details about that. But if you do have some things that you have to push through and you feel that they're, intuitively it's time to do it, then you might be able to take advantage of that energy. Okay, so I really love this month for vacations, because this desire to rest and slack makes an increase in the possibility that you'll enjoy the vacation and you'll leave your worries and work behind. So if you are a traveler, or you're planning a trip, or you just like to read about travel stuff, you can check out my website, Astrology Kissed Travel Bliss, and I do monthly astrology travel reports so that you can understand some highlights as far as it relates to travel, and there are also fun blogs and inspiration for travel. There's a new moon on June 13th, and this is another increase in this opportunity for travel, adventures near and far, connecting with siblings, cousins, and other relatives. If you have to make a last-minute purchase of a communication device, if you know that coming soon your car or your phone or something is due to get, if you're due to get a new one, this time around, the beginning of the month or around this new moon of the 13th, might be a good time to squeeze these things in, because Mars rules metal. And well, it's one of the, of course it's complicated, but things that are made of metal are under the rule of Mars. So buying machinery, utilizing machinery, and of course everything has metal in it, all of our devices. The energy is better for it when we're further away from the retrograde. So if you can help it, sometimes you might not be able to help it, in which case don't worry, just go with the flow. But if you know it's coming, you might want to take advantage of this time in the middle of the month. So increasing your recreation time is a great goal. If you're going to have any goals during this time, it would be goals to have more fun, and goals to relax, and goals to take vacations, and even goals to study, but in a laid-back, leisurely way. This is a time that can greatly favor education, but especially in flexible programs that allow you to go at your own pace, so that if you turn out to lose some ambitions, that you're not penalized. If you're interested in education that feels more like a hobby rather than a stressful obligation, then it's very well indicated during this Mars retrograde, because we could see that as part of a focus on recreation. You might notice a slowdown in work, finances, romance, etc. But like I said, there is an amazing chance for you to reap rewards from the past. So things may slow down in some senses, but things from the past could come to fruition now without you even doing anything, and it might seem quite magical. If you have to do some work-related things, it's better to focus on clients from the past, ideas from the past, things like that, if at all possible. These retrogrades tend to make things get called into question. So things that were set or intended may drastically change form during this time, or become irrelevant or uninteresting. So just notice the cycle, and just because something isn't, kind of goes away from your energy field at this time, it doesn't mean it's forever. I know I personally have Aries rising, and Mars rules Aries, so I notice that I'm very much affected by this transit. Everybody's affected by it, but people with Aries and Scorpio placements, strong Aries and Scorpio placements, may notice it more because Mars rules Aries and co-rules Scorpio. But I've noticed that I just love this energy because it helps you to relax. And whenever this happens now, I plan my rests for this time. But if you didn't know that this were coming, you might think, wow, what is happening to me? I'm like this. So I feel like when Mars retrograde, like, wow, I'm never going to be ambitious again. That's so weird. And then as soon as Mars goes direct, I'm back to my normal ambitious self. You know, so it's just interesting to watch your own personal cycles with this. And as I mentioned before, you might have the opposite occur, and notice that too. Learning astrology and using astrology is one big experiment, you know, and the more you learn about what's going on and then you pay attention to your personal flow with that, the more you learn about the art and the science. Okay, so many people are going to be questioning many things in life, but there will be a special focus for the job, profession, life path, because of the time that Mars is going to spend getting back into Capricorn. And since it spends most of the time retrograde in Aquarius, this strong focus on reconsidering or considering for the future, defining or redefining projects or relationships involving nonprofits, humanitarian efforts, technology, and other futuristic innovations, groups, things having to do with groups and teams and friends and friendships and acquaintances, social circles, and social media are all within this Mars and Aquarius energy. You might notice a lot of push and pull between home and work, home and family, mother and father, because we have a notable amount of oppositions between the Cancer and Capricorn energy. So this can bring a lot of overstimulation between home and family and work and your place out in the world. Overstimulation doesn't necessarily mean bad or good. It's just that there are opposing forces that are both demanding equal and extra focus, which can make you feel torn between these competing interests. But we do also have some great aspects with Uranus that can bring amazing insights and breakthroughs or happy surprises. So there are many times in this month where beautiful aspects are coupled with challenging ones. So good news and challenges could present simultaneously. You might see that going on. Okay, so the energy of this Cancer eclipse, we talked about where it would hit for you personally in your chart, but the general energy that everyone has this increased chance of experiencing is having to do with housing, home, and other family opportunities will likely be a dominating theme. There's something that a dermatologist said to me recently that I always wind up applying these random things to astrology, you know. So she said that there's an increase in skin cancer risk for people who have light-colored eyes, that there's something genetic about that relationship. Okay, so that doesn't mean that all people who have light-colored eyes are going to get skin cancer, and it doesn't mean that all people who don't have light-colored eyes are not. But this increase in probability is how I always frame astrology. There's an increase in probability of the things that these transits tend to bring. And it doesn't mean that everybody's going to experience these things that are common. It just means there's an increase in probability. You know, the odds are more likely. Like on a day when the meteorologist says, rain is 90% today. Sometimes it doesn't rain, you know, but there's that increased chance. And that's what I want you to understand about the nature of these transits and the nature of these potentials. Okay, so I'm going to give you a couple of other dates to highlight this month. And if you want more details about dates and transits of note, then definitely go to my website, anniehelpsyou.com. Sign up for my free email newsletter. You can also sign up at cozybysweetstarlight.com, which is where I also have written horoscopes, cozybysweetstarlight.com. If you sign up at either of those places for my free newsletter, I write a monthly write-up with more details about these general transits in a written version a month ahead than I give in the video. Okay, so it supplements what we're going to do here. If you have to do anything in June, important, money, love, you know, beauty choices, anything that you have to do, the creative projects, anything important. I love the first several days of the month. We've got beautiful Venus and Jupiter trine, and then Venus trines Neptune. So that's my favorite time of the month, besides the middle of the month, the 13th, with that new moon in Gemini. We've got a little bit of challenging energy after that, like the 5th through the 7th. Logic bumping up against intuition and some challenges there. Definitely take a moment to center yourself before walking, driving, biking, etc. And try to resist the urge to text while biking or text while walking or text while driving, because it just, this energy increases the odds of accidents. You want to be paying attention more. There's another sweet spot here in the middle of the month where I told you the new moon on the 13th. And then there's a nice aspect between Mercury and Uranus, but at the same time, there's a challenging one with Venus and Uranus. And some other challenges there in the middle of the month. We've got another sweet spot, June 19th through the 20th, when Mercury makes a trine to Jupiter. And then we have Mars going retrograde on the 26th. When a planet goes retrograde, there's a lot of awkwardness. So just look out for awkwardness around that time. Then there's the full moon in Capricorn on June 27th, and this will bring completion, fruition, accomplishment, or drama into the realms of work, career, father figures, and your place out in the world. So those are the things that are most on my mind for this month. Definitely check out my websites, AnnieHelpsYou.com, if you're interested in learning astrology as a profession or just for your self-development. If you'd like to be a coach, I have a coach training program. I have an astrology apprenticeship program. I also have a course called Creating Successful Online Business, where I teach you how to create an online presence and funnel it into your services that will help you to live the life that you want and not be geographically bound. If you want written horoscopes that are focusing on different areas than the videos that I make, then go to cozybysweetstarlight.com. If you would like to get information about astrology travel reports that I write for each month, then go to astrologykissedtravelbliss.com. And definitely check out my husband's website, iamhelios.com, IAMHELIOS.com, for wonderful astrology and tarot readings. He also has some really cool free offerings on his site that bring sound vibrations that you can download that help to soften the energies of the current transits. So that's something really cool he's doing. So I hope you have a wonderful month, and I'll see you next month. Bye.